Kate Thompson's Secret of the Homefront Girls. This, brilliant. Oh, 5+ brilliant. Absolutely loved it. So it's about a family, Nell, the mother, who virtually run the East End, Pat, the father, and then there was a girl called Renee. She worked at the Yardley factory on the lipstick conveyor belt. And then there was the older sister, Lily, who had been away for a few years and came back as a supervisor at Yardley's. And then there was a little boy, the youngest brother to these girls, Frankie. It was brilliant. It was about the relationships of the East End. It was about the bombing when war took over. It's about love. It's about hate. It's about people sticking up for each other. It's about the way back then, wartime, the way they rallied round together, the way they looked out for each other. Nell, the mother, a real matriarch. Everybody called her auntie. She virtually ruled the roost of that area of the East End. The girls at Yardley, happy-go-lucky girls, the ones on the lipstick counter, they were called the Lavender Girls as well because Yardley started off with lavender. It was amazing. They were really into bright red lipstick and those good days. But then the war comes and its destruction. And what it does Yardley still stand? You will have to read it to see. I love this book. Absolutely love this book. It is based on a true story, even though these are fictional characters. The author did interview a couple of Yardley girls, well, women, because they were 89 and 91 when she interviewed them. And she's done them proud, this author. She's a good author, Kate Thompson. She's a good author. I so recommend this. I so recommend it. It was brilliant. From page 1, I just wanted to read more. It wasn't one where you'd think, oh, I'll put that down and get back to it. Yeah, of course I had to put it down. Of course I did. I've got other things to do. But, I had to keep grabbing it every time I had 5 minutes to spare because it was one of those ones that I just wanted to keep reading. And like what always happens to me when the book comes to an end, although the ending is brilliant on this one, I've got no qualms about it, I always feel like, oh, it's ended. Like I've lost some friends or something. But yeah, go out, get this, get it from the library, whatever. It is brilliant and you will love it. The Kelly Sisters by Maureen Lee. I think Maureen Lee is a really good writer. I've got a few of her books. So this one, Dublin 1925. So the Kelly sisters' names are Patricia, Tara and Aideen. And they have a smaller brother called Milo. And the mother had died when she was having Milo. Anyway, the father, whose name is Bernie, solicitor in Dublin, and he embezzled some money. So he packed them all up, but not Milo. He gave Milo to his sister-in-law to look after because he was young. So he packed the 3 girls up and said they were going to go from Dublin to live in Liverpool, which they didn't. They ended up, so they were in Liverpool for a night, and then they ended up getting on a ship to New York. On the way to New York, Bernie, the father, came into the girls' bedrooms one night and gave Patricia a a big envelope, big fat envelope, and he said, if anything happens to me, use this. Do not ever go back to Dublin, and do not ever tell anyone where this has come from. So the next morning, very early, they were woken up by a steward from the ship who said their father had jumped overboard. They'd found his watch in one of the bars and his coat was floating on the water. This left these three girls going to New York on their own. So she opened the envelope when they were alone, when just the three of them were alone, and there was loads of money in there. So they said, right, Daddy had said we're not to go back to Dublin, let's go on to New York, which is what they did. So they went to New York and they started themselves a life. And Patricia and Aideen got jobs, and Tara was supposed to go to school, which she didn't, but the sisters didn't know. She became a model and earned really good money. It wasn't until a year later that the sisters found out. And the story goes on. So they're in New York, and they're having a really good time. And Patricia changes jobs a couple of times, and it goes from there. Later down the track, Patricia gets married for a reason. But she does become to love her husband, which was brilliant. Tara becomes quite political. She moves around a bit. Excuse me, and Aideen does the same. This is a good book. I'm not going to tell you much more because it's quite an involved book. Now I've got a tickle, and I would have finished it a lot quicker than what I did, but life got in the way and I've been really, really busy. I would give it a 4.5 out of 5. I do like Maureen Lee. So if you guys want to pick it up from the library, I'm quite happy to even lend it. So, Margaret Dickinson's The Brooklyn Girls. Oh my goodness. Fantastic book. It does have 500 pages. Not that that's a problem. It is such a good book. 5 out of 5. So it starts off in 1919. The Maitland family is still coming to terms with the aftermath of the Great War. Pip, the daughter of the Maitlands, decides to enjoy herself after the misery of being there in the war. She was a nurse. She helped get the bodies and the sick men from the front line. She did get hurt, but she was fine. So she decides to enjoy herself, especially after the misery of a broken love affair where she caught her boyfriend kissing someone else. So she decides she's going to seek excitement. So she moves from her family in the country, and she moves to London to live with a friend, where she decides to learn to drive racing cars. And so she drives racing cars, and she also learned to fly. She's a very go-getter girl, very daring, all that sort of stuff. So her brother was hurt in the war. He lost his arm, and he becomes very depressed. She's the only one that can get him out of his depression. But he had fallen in love with the ladies, because they're from a wealthy family, right? They are wealthy. She had fallen in love with the lady's maid he had, and he marries her. And the family are really, really pleased because his wife is just brilliant and fits into the family really, really well. So two men are in her life from back in the war days. They're both in love with her, but she doesn't know if she could ever trust a man again. She goes home quite often now and again because her brother gets really depressed. The black dog takes over. And as much as his wife Alice can try and get him out of this depression, it's only Pip. It's only Pip that can do it. So she goes home, hang on, quite a bit to give him a good talking to, really, and say, like, what are you, what are you up to? What are you doing? You're alive. So many aren't. That is all I'm going to say, because if I start saying too much, I'm worried that it's not going to be a surprise in the book. This book is brilliant. Margaret Dickinson is a good author. So definitely 5 out of 5.